March 10th, 2026. A random Tuesday in the NBA that became history forever. Bam Adebayo, a center for the Miami Heat, dropped 83 points in a game, passing Kobe Bryant for second all-time of points scored in a game. And this got me thinking a little bit. How much has the league evolved if on a random Tuesday, an NBA player can go out and drop 83 points? Yo, what's going on, NBA fans? My name is Rouse, bringing you guys a brand new video. Bam Adebayo last week dropped 83 points on the Wizards on a random Tuesday evening. And it had me thinking, how much has the NBA evolved from what it used to be? Because now it seems like anyone can go out and drop 50 to 60 points and no one would really care. So today, I'm just going to break it down. No numbers, no advanced metrics, just pure thoughts and conversation on what I think has changed over the last few decades and why the NBA is at the point it is now. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any comments or opinions on anything I say throughout the video, make sure to leave them down below, and let's get straight into the video. I'm going to start off today's video with the event that has had NBA fans in a frenzy. And that was Bam Adebayo dropping 83 points against the Washington Wizards last week. This game had me thinking a lot. It had me thinking in what direction the NBA has gone into in the last decade. And I will say, we've never seen anything like it before. Bam Adebayo dropping 83 points will be something in the history books forever. But one thing that I will say about Bam Adebayo's game is, 43 free throws in a basketball game is something that we should never see again. I think the term foul baiting or anything like that in the NBA nowadays has just gone way too far. As when you hear the word free throw, the first thing that comes to mind is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And yes, I was one of those people who, wasn't a Shai enjoyer because of how much he was getting to the free throw line. But after, observing the game and actually watching it, I think we take it out of proportion sometimes based on what we see online, and instead of watching the games. And there are people out there who box score watch, and I tend to do that sometimes, but I like to enjoy and watch the games to see what's actually happening. And I think sometimes that we take these terms too much out of context. And going back to Bam's game, that's something that he can hold forever. No one can say that they've done that other than Kobe Bryant and possibly Wilt Chamberlain, yet we've never seen real game footage. So who knows? Maybe Bam is the all-time, point leader in a game. The way that NBA has gone in the last several decades, it's very limited to contact now. Every time a player gets to the rim or a player of status gets to the rim, there's going to be a foul call. Any type of contact, there's going to be a foul call, and sometimes it takes that joy away from the NBA of watching an actual game, because half the time players are spending, on the free throw line. And after watching the amount of great games that we've had over the last few weeks, we've had Denver OKC going at it twice. We've had the Lakers Denver game, which was, in my opinion, game of the year. I think the NBA right now is playing some of their best basketball, regardless of the foul baiting or regardless of, any of the outside critics. Right now, we are getting some of the best basketball being played because of how good the competition is in the league. Other than those bottom teams like Brooklyn, Utah, Washington, almost every team in this league is built to be competitive. The Clippers, for example, a team who started 6-21 and was ruled out, is now 8th in the West in a play-in spot. Going to the East, a team, like I said in my previous video, Boston, who was ruled out, their players have stepped up. I think right now we are blessed to be having some of the basketball that is being put on in this league. And I just want to say that because I think it's going underappreciated on what these players are doing. And one player I do want to point out that I've pointed out several times, Luka Doncic will unfortunately never win an MVP because of some of the names that he's been put on, or things that he does that just takes away because of what's being put out online. I think we have to have these conversations that the NBA right now is the best that it's ever been. The talent level is the best that it's ever been. If you want to compare it to the 90s, or you want to compare it to the 2000s where you had T-Mac, Iverson, those were good players. But you get to those top players and, you have those highlighted names. But once you get under those names, you can't remember who's on those rosters at all. Not one bit. Unless you really, really, really go deep into the NBA, you can't remember who's on those rosters other than those star players. Right now, the NBA, you can name almost everyone six-man. That's how good the league is right now. And I think we're taking that undervalued. The Western Conference, they have 8 teams who in a regular season are all over 500. You go down to number 1 to number 8. All those teams at the moment, I think the Clippers are at 500 after last night against their loss at the Spurs. All those teams are over 500. The West, from seeds 3 to the Lakers right now to I think 6, are 3 games apart. 3 games apart. The NBA right now is a dogfight, just in general, because nobody really knows outside of the Thunder who the true title contenders are. And that, that's a video that I have coming up next on who I think will be the, best title contenders going into the playoffs. But I think we undervalue the NBA on where it's at because of social media. I think it's taken away some of that love for the game because, every new post on either TikTok or Instagram is hating on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for foul baiting, or, Bam Adebayo dropping 83 points, but the highlights of that game are 43 free throws to go with it. I think we, take small portions of, what is there to come. And with the players and the talent pool that we have right now, it's unbelievable. And then we have this draft class that is coming in that nobody even knows who the number 1 pick is because of how good the draft class is. The NBA is only getting better. And that's why you have so many things that are, being taken out of proportion, like tanking. Tanking is another thing where, Adam Silver has recently come out to try and cut down on tanking. But if you're a team like the Washington Wizards, who, you make a bunch of trades at the deadline to get Anthony Davis and you get Trae Young, but they're hurt, so you don't really have a direction. Why would you want to win games when you have a draft class with Cameron Boozer, Darren Peterson, like guards like Darius Cuff, and you have AJ Dybantsa? Why win games when you're going to get a franchise-changing player in the next couple months? I also think we are set to have one of the greatest playoffs we have ever seen. We are going to be set for a good month or 2 of one of the greatest playoffs we've ever seen. In the West, you could see Denver and OKC in a second-round series. You can see Minnesota versus Denver in a first-round series. Those games in the regular season have already been classics. You could see the Houston Rockets versus the Lakers, who, they didn't put on a great game, as of tonight, March 16th. But that's still a really good series. You got KD versus LeBron. The Clippers, an amazing story this year. They've been a team who, like I said before, started 6-21. And now they're 500 at 35-35 after shipping out Harden, after shipping out Zubac. The tear that Kawhi Leonard's has been unreal. And then Phoenix, a team of straight dogs, a team that, again, people ruled out. They saw after they traded Kevin Durant, they're like, they're not going to be anything. Dylan Brooks, he's going to be in some conversations that people aren't going to like. Devin Booker, a person who's been there his entire career, is hooping out of his mind. But I think, it all starts with a game like Bam Adebayo. And even tonight, like I said, you can name every 6-man. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 40 points tonight. 40 points tonight. A guy who has never been an all-star, nothing, drops 40 points on a Monday. It's these little things that, you know, people will like look back at basketball and be like, okay, like, you know, everyone's just getting to the free throw line. That's how they're scoring. Shea only scores because he gets to the free throw line. No, this league is just that damn good now. You know, I'm not even bringing up the advanced metrics. I'm not bringing up any numbers, nothing. This is all just based off of the head on what I'm seeing out on the court right now. And the NBA is one of the greatest right now we've ever seen. Because you can't tell me that a team like the Thunder could play Jordan's Bulls and they wouldn't wipe them because of how advanced the league is now. And, you know, there's going to be conversations of, you know, oh, you know, Kobe's 81-point game was better than Bam's 83 points. That's fine. Have those conversations. But the fact that that's a conversation that we're having, that Bam Adebayo is in the same conversation with Kobe being Bryant, that's not something people are realizing nowadays. And, you know, it's just something that we all have to watch out for as the league advances. Because as time goes on, it's only going to get better. You know, kids in high school or college are only being more exposed to better and, you know, more useful, like, let's say, you know, gyms or resources. They're only going to get better because things are advancing. And I think we just take the NBA as, you know, very unappreciated of what it's become because of some of those little things like foul baiting or, you know, forcing the stats or whatever. But that's what the game's come to. Unfortunately, that is what the game has come to. But at the end of the day, we're still seeing some of the greatest basketball we're seeing. And I will go down on this. That Lakers Nuggets game the other night it's a regular season game. A regular season game, and it was one of the greatest games that I have ever watched in my entire life. Austin Reeves in the last seconds throwing it off the rim. You know how hard that play is? But because of how good the league is today, a guy like Austin Reeves can make that play. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it, and it all starts with the Bam Adebayo 83-point game, as well as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander breaking Wilt's record for most consecutive 20-point games. It's only going to get better from here. And I think we really need to take that into consideration of how good the league is today. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. I did say this was going to be an interesting one, as it was. If you guys had any comments or opinions about anything I said throughout the video, make sure to just leave them down below, as I love discussing all conversations of basketball. Make sure to like and subscribe, as it only helps me more as I go along this journey. And I'll see you guys in the next video.